For the next couple of days, life took on a tense, brittle quality for the Roberts family. After Kendra's revelation about Jason's father, they all were constantly on edge. Rebecca kept in regular contact with Simon, waiting for the right moment to act on the evidence. Brandon installed additional bolts on the windows, and they agreed on a nightly watch rotation. Someone would always be alert in case of another break-in attempt. At school, Kendra did her best to maintain a low profile. She limited her interactions mostly to Emily and a few classmates in group projects. Jason respected her request for space. He kept his distance, though she often caught him looking at her with a hurt, puzzled expression that made her heart ache. Vanessa, on the other hand, seemed to relish Kendra's withdrawal. With Kendra no longer by Jason's side, Vanessa wasted no time cozying up to him. In class, in the halls, at lunch, she was always nearby, clinging to his arm or laughing at his remarks. Jason tolerated her but was noticeably less spirited than before. Emily commented to Kendra at lunch, "I swear he looks like a sad puppy. Whatever happened between you two, I hope it can be fixed. He's miserable with Vanessa around." Kendra just shook her head. "I can't, Em. It's complicated and it's better this way." Emily patted her hand. "If you say so. I'm here if you need to talk, you know. You've been so down." "I know, thank you. I'm okay, really. Just stressed about, family stuff." That wasn't a lie, at least, she thought. On Wednesday after school, as Kendra headed to the front gate where Brandon now waited daily to pick her up, Jason approached her. Vanessa was occupied chatting with a friend, so he seized the opportunity alone. "Kendra, please," he said quietly, stepping in front of her. "Just hear me out for a minute." She froze, clutching the strap of her backpack. She saw Brandon's car parked a short distance away. He was watching them intently. "Jason, I told you I can't." "I don't understand," he said, voice pained. "Everything was going great, and then suddenly you shut me out completely. If I did something wrong, just tell me. I'll apologize. I'll fix it." Hearing the anguish in his voice, seeing the genuine confusion in his eyes nearly broke her resolve. She looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "It's not you. It's nothing you did. It's just my family. We have problems. I can't involve anyone else." Jason shook his head. "I don't care how big your problems are. I want to help. You don't have to go through stuff alone. Is someone hurting you, or did I upset you by asking about your dad?" She tensed. "No, you didn't upset me by that. It's just, after thinking it over, I realized I'm not ready to be close with anyone right now. I'm sorry." It was the vaguest, least satisfying explanation, and she hated herself for giving it. But what else could she do? Jason swallowed hard, frustration evident. "That's not a real explanation, Kendra." "What does not ready even mean? Everything was fine, and then literally overnight you decided you don't want to be friends? I don't buy it. Did someone say something about me, or about my family?" He added the last part sharply, as if a thought had struck him. Her eyes flicked up to his at that. She must have reacted, because he pressed, "If it's something to do with my father, you should tell me." Her heart pounded. Could he know something? Or was he just fishing because he noticed she reacted to mention of family? She tried to keep her face blank. "Jason, please just drop it. I can't explain. I'm sorry." His jaw clenched. "You can't or you won't. Kendra, we both know something happened. I'm not stupid. Did Vanessa get to you, or—" She almost laughed at the idea that this was Vanessa's doing. If only it were that petty. At least then they could have resolved it. "No, it's not Vanessa," she said. She saw Brandon start to get out of the car, likely sensing her discomfort. She needed to end this now. "Look, I appreciate everything you did for me. You're a great guy," she said, voice wavering. "But I can't be around you. It's not safe." The last part slipped out before she could stop it. Jason's eyes widened. "Not safe? Why? I'd never hurt you." "I don't mean like that. she said quickly. Then how? Is someone threatening you? Is it a crazy ex or something? You can tell me. I can help. My dad can hire security. At the mention of his dad helping, Kendra recoiled visibly, her temper flaring despite herself. I don't want anything from your father, she snapped louder than intended. Jason stared at her as if slapped. A silence hung between them for a second, both of them surprised by the intensity of her outburst. Fine, he said at last, an edge of hurt anger creeping into his voice. If that's how you feel, I thought we trusted each other at least a little. I would have been there for you. He backed away, running a hand through his hair. But I can't force you. Take care, Kendra. He turned and walked off quickly, shoulders stiff, passing a gawking Vanessa without a word, and disappearing into the parking lot. Tears stung at Kendra's eyes as she watched him go. She hadn't wanted to hurt him like that, but when he mentioned his father, all the pain and anger surged up. What must he think now? That she hated his father for some reason. Maybe he'd connect the dots, maybe not. Brandon was at her side then, gently touching her arm. You okay? That looked intense. She blinked away tears and nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. Yeah, let's just go home. He didn't pry further as they got in the car. On the drive, he said, We need to be extra careful. If Jason gets suspicious, he might talk to his dad or try to dig around. That could tip them off more. I know, she said miserably, staring out the window. I think I might have messed up. I yelled at him that I don't want anything from his father. It just came out. Brandon winced. Damn. That'll definitely raise questions. We'll have to keep an eye out. They got home and told Rebecca what happened. She looked concerned but tried to reassure Kendra. Don't blame yourself. This was bound to be messy. We'll just adapt. I'll let Simon know that Richard's son is entangled with you, in case it affects how we proceed. Perhaps it's even leverage somehow, though I wouldn't want to involve the boy. Kendra shook her head. No, leave Jason out of this. He doesn't know anything. That evening, tension remained high. Brandon paced the living room like a caged tiger. We can't just sit and wait for them to hit us again, he said abruptly. We should be on the offensive or something. With what? A baseball bat? Rebecca replied wearily. We're not exactly an elite strike team, sweetheart. We have to be smart and patient. Simon will tell us when it's time to go to the police safely or release the info. Brandon clenched his fists. It's just, I hate this. I hate feeling helpless. That punk who keeps hassling me, I'm about ready to teach him a lesson too. At that, Rebecca's eyes sharpened. Has that boy been bothering you again? Brandon shrugged. Saw him lurking near the grocery store today. I ignored him and came straight home, but he's got it out for me clearly. Maybe he's connected to them, Kendra mused. What if he's been following us or was paid off? Unlikely, Rebecca said, but she didn't sound fully convinced. He's probably just a neighborhood thug with an ego problem. But still, you should avoid him, Brandon. No going out alone unless necessary. Brandon sighed and flopped onto the couch. Understood. Night fell. They ate a simple dinner, and after Rebecca retreated to her room to call Simon for an update on his progress. Brandon and Kendra settled in the living room, the TV playing some sitcom that neither was actually watching. As 9 p.m. approached, Brandon got up and went to the kitchen. He returned wearing his jacket. I need to get some fresh air. Kendra looked up in alarm. Brandon, Mom said, I know, I won't go far. I'll just walk to the end of the street and back. I'm going stir crazy in here. He patted the pocket where she knew he kept a small pocket knife. I'll be fine. I need to clear my head. She bit her lip. At least take your phone and keep it on. And if you see that guy or anything weird, run, okay? He cracked a grin to ease her worry. Yes, ma'am, I'll be 10 minutes tops. He slipped out the front door, locking it behind him. Kendra watched him from the window as he headed down the dimly lit street. The neighborhood was quiet, most homes dark or with flickers of TV light in windows. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Brandon walked down the street, hands in his jacket pockets, drawing the night air into his lungs in deep breaths. The cool breeze felt good, calming his nerves a little. He hated making Kendra and his mom worry, but he needed this brief escape from the suffocating tension in the house. He reached the end of their street and turned the corner, passing closed shops and the dimly lit petrol station a block away. The neon signs reflected off the pavement. He considered going in to grab a soda, but something made him hesitate. An instinct, perhaps, that he shouldn't linger too far from home. As he decided to turn back, a figure emerged from a shadowed alley between a laundromat and a pawn shop. Brandon's muscles tensed as he recognized the swagger in the man's step, even before the streetlight revealed his face. It was the same stocky thug who had been harassing him. Zane. And this time, he wasn't alone. Two other young men stepped out behind him, fanning out to partially block the sidewalk. Brandon's heart kicked into a higher gear. He quickly glanced around. The street was otherwise empty, and the shops were closed. Shouting might draw the attention of the petrol station attendant, but they were a good distance from it. Zane grinned, though a bruise from their last scuffle mottled his jaw. "Hey there, new guy. Out for an evening stroll?" His tone was mocking and his eyes gleamed with malice. Brandon clenched his fists inside his pockets, feeling the small folding knife pressed against his thigh. He hoped he wouldn't have to use it. Fighting 3 people alone was bad odds, knife or not. "Not looking for trouble," he said evenly, taking a step to the side to see if he could slip past. One of Zane's friends, a taller guy with a shaved head, stepped into his path. "Too late for that. You already found trouble," he sneered. Zane cracked his knuckles. "You made me look stupid the other day, walking away like you were better than me. My boss didn't like that either. Thinks you need a real lesson." Brandon's mind raced. Boss? This seemed more planned than just a personal grudge. "Look, I don't want any fights. I'm just heading home." "Not before we have a chat," Zane said. "Word is someone's very interested in you." "Why's that, huh? You a snitch or something?" Brandon realized with a chill that this might be connected to the bigger danger, not just a random feud. The thought emboldened him. If these guys were working for Coleman, they weren't going to leave him alone anyway. He had to get out or incapacitate them and run. "None of your business," Brandon retorted, taking a defensive stance. "Last warning, leave me alone." Zane barked a laugh. "Oh, he thinks he's giving warnings." He lunged forward with a sudden punch aimed at Brandon's face. Brandon dodged barely, the fist grazing his ear. He countered with a hard jab to Zane's gut. Zane let out an oof, but the other 2 attackers sprang into action. The tall one grabbed at Brandon's jacket from behind, and the third, a wiry teen, swung a metal pipe that whooshed past Brandon's shoulder. Adrenaline surging, Brandon stomped backward on the foot of the one grabbing him, making the tall guy yelp and loosen his grip. He then whirled and landed an elbow to the man's nose. There was a crunch and a shout as the thug stumbled back with a hand to his bleeding nose. The pipe wielder charged again. Brandon narrowly ducked the swing and delivered a solid punch across the guy's jaw, sending him reeling into the alley wall. Zane recovered enough to tackle Brandon from the side. They both went down hard on the sidewalk, fists swinging. Brandon took a hit to his cheek. Pain burst across his face, but he managed to roll, pinning Zane beneath him. He rammed a knee into Zane's ribs once, twice. Zane howled in pain. Brandon's victory was short-lived. The tall thug, face smeared with blood from his broken nose, grabbed Brandon by the shoulders and yanked him off Zane, throwing him to the ground. Brandon's head smacked the pavement and stars exploded in his vision. Dazed, he tried to get up, but a brutal kick from the wiry teen connected with his stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Brandon gasped, curling up instinctively. Zane dragged himself to his feet, wheezing. "Enough playing and get his arms," he ordered. The 2 goons seized Brandon's arms and hauled him upright. He struggled but weakened from the blow. He couldn't break free. Zane pulled a switchblade from his pocket and flicked it open. He pressed it against Brandon's cheek, right on the bruise from before. "Now you're going to come with us for a little ride. Someone important wants to meet you," he snarled. Brandon glared at him despite the blade biting into his skin. "Go to hell," he spat. Zane shrugged. "Maybe later. For now you're going for a drive." He nodded to his accomplices. They began forcing Brandon toward the mouth of the alley where, as Brandon was dragged forward, he saw headlights as a dark van rolled up, almost silent. The side door of the van slid open. Inside stood a large silhouette of a man and another holding what looked like a baton or taser. Panic flared in Brandon's chest. This was it. The real kidnappers. He dug his heels in, trying desperately to wrestle free. "Kendra!" he shouted at the top of his lungs, hoping against hope his sister might hear him from home, even though it was far. "Kendra, run!" One of the thugs clamped a hand over his mouth and punched him hard in the kidney. Agony ripped through Brandon's side. The larger silhouette from the van stepped out, a tall, heavy-set man with a balaclava on. He moved with professional swiftness, helping the others shove Brandon toward the van. Suddenly, there was a shout behind them. "Oi! What's going on?" The petrol station attendant, drawn by the noise, had come to the corner holding a phone as if about to call the police. "Crap," Zane hissed. He gestured to his friends. "Get him in, hurry!" Brandon seized the moment of distraction. With a surge of adrenaline, he wrenched one arm free and elbowed the tall thug holding his left side. Then he drove his head back into the face of the wiry one on his right. Both loosened their grip. He almost broke away, feet scrambling, but Zane lunged and slashed with his knife. Pain tore across Brandon's upper arm as the blade cut him. He cried out, and the delay was enough for the masked man from the van to swing his baton with a crack against the back of Brandon's skull. Everything went blurry. Brandon's legs buckled. He felt himself being caught under the armpits and heaved into the van. His consciousness wavered, sound becoming muffled. The last things he saw as the van door slammed shut were Zane and his two cronies bolting in the opposite direction, presumably to avoid being caught by the witness, and the interior of the van illuminated by a dim light. Two men securing his wrists with zip ties. Then all went dark as he lost consciousness. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Kendra told herself to stay calm. Maybe he just walked a little further to the next block. At the 20-minute mark, her nerves got the better of her. She grabbed her phone and dialed Brandon. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. She tried again with the same result. Her heart thudded. Something wasn't right. She hurried to her mother's room. Rebecca was sitting on the edge of her bed, phone in hand as well. "Mom, is Brandon back?" Kendra asked anxiously. Rebecca's face was tight with worry. "No, I was just trying to call him too. He's not answering." "I'm going to look for him," Kendra said immediately. "Wait." Her mother stood up. She went to the living room and retrieved her handgun from where it was tucked under an armchair cushion. "I'm coming with you." Together they stepped out into the night, locking the door behind them. The street was quiet, a few lamps casting pools of light. They walked quickly towards the corner of the block, calling Brandon's name in hushed tones so as not to alarm neighbors. No sign of him. They reached the end of the street where it crossed a slightly busier road lined with closed shops and the 24-hour petrol station a block down. As they neared the petrol station, which had a convenience store where Brandon sometimes bought snacks or cigarettes, they saw something on the pavement that made Kendra's blood run cold. A cell phone lay near the mouth of an alley. Its screen cracked. It was Brandon's phone. She recognized the sticker on the case, a Manchester United logo. "Mom," she breathed, pointing. Rebecca picked up the phone, hands shaking. "Oh God, Brandon," she whisper-shouted, urgently scanning the area. A faint groan came from the alleyway. Kendra's heart leapt. There, near a dumpster, she saw a figure lying on the ground. They rushed over. It was a young man with a bleeding forehead and a bruised face lying on his side. For a split second, Kendra thought it was Brandon, but this man was thinner with sandy hair. He wore a leather jacket, and she recognized him. It was the thug who had attacked Brandon before. He was barely conscious, eyes fluttering open as they crouched over him. "What happened?" Rebecca demanded, keeping the gun out but pointed down. The thug, Zane, grimaced in pain. "That guy, crazy, he mumbled. Kendra realized Brandon must have fought him here, and judging by the thug's condition, Brandon might have won or at least dealt some damage. But where was Brandon now? She grabbed the thug's collar. "Where's my brother? What did you do?" The thug groaned. "I don't know. He fight." Rebecca's patience was razor thin. She pointed the gun at Zane's knee. "Tell us what happened, now, or I swear I will make sure you can't walk again." That seemed to focus him. His eyes widened at the gun. All right, he slurred. "I was just supposed to rough him up and to send a message." "Whose message?" Rebecca snapped. Zane coughed, spitting blood. "Some rich dude. Paid my boss. Said scare the new guy off. Hurt him. For what he did at his old job or something. I don't know, man, I just swung at him, but he fought back hard." Kendra's blood went cold. A rich dude? That had to be Coleman or one of his cronies. "Where is Brandon now?" she demanded, shaking Zane. Zane winced. Someone else took him. After he knocked me out, I think. When I came to, his car was still there, but he wasn't. Saw a van driving off. Black van, out that way. He feebly pointed toward a road that led toward the highway. A black van. It was the same van that a neighbor had mentioned seeing after the break-in attempt, perhaps. Their pursuers had escalated their game. Rebecca let out a choked noise, half fury, half despair. "You idiot!" she hissed at Zane. "You have no idea what you've gotten involved in." Zane just groaned and rolled onto his back, seemingly in too much pain to care. Kendra tugged at her mother. "Mom, we have to call the police, and we have to tell Simon. They have Brandon." Rebecca nodded, tears in her eyes, but holding herself together. She glared once more at the thug on the ground. "If my son is hurt, pray the police find you before I do." Then she took Kendra's hand and they hurried back towards their house, half running. As they ran, Rebecca called emergency services. Her voice trembled, but she gave a clear account. Her son had been abducted, the assailants possibly armed and dangerous, driving a black van heading west from their location. She also mentioned an injured attacker left behind who needed to be picked up. By the time they reached home, 2 police cars were already pulling up in response to the call, lights flashing. The commotion drew a couple of curious neighbors out to their porches, but police kept them back. A whirlwind of questions followed. Officers took descriptions, asked if they knew who was behind it. Rebecca and Kendra exchanged a knowing look and decided to give a version of the truth, that they suspected a man named Richard Coleman was behind it due to a past conflict with their family, and that he might be trying to hurt them. That raised eyebrows and prompted more calls as the name was recognized by one of the officers. Within the hour, a detective arrived to speak with them, Detective Parks, a gruff middle-aged man with sharp eyes. He listened to their story in the living room, where Kendra sat numbly on the sofa, numb with worry. Rebecca recounted as much as she dared, that her late husband had information on Coleman's crimes, that he died suspiciously, and now Coleman's people had come after them and taken her son. Detective Parks looked astonished. "Ma'am, these are very serious allegations. Richard Coleman is a powerful figure. If what you're saying is true, we need to get you both protective custody immediately." Rebecca hesitated, glancing at Kendra. I have evidence, but I need to know my son is safe first. We'll do everything we can to find him, Parks assured. "We've got units looking for the black van. We also have that perp you left alive. He's being taken to the hospital under guard, and we'll question him further once he's stable." Kendra's hands were shaking uncontrollably now. She felt cold even though adrenaline still pumped through her. This wasn't some distant threat anymore. Brandon was in their clutches. Her lively, brave brother, who always protected her, was now at the mercy of killers. She couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Rebecca sat next to her and held her tightly, her own tears flowing. "We'll get him back, Kendra. We will," her mother whispered fiercely, as if saying it with enough conviction would make it true. The scene felt surreal to Kendra. Police radios crackling in their home, an officer standing guard at the door, the detective making calls to organize an alert for the van, neighbors gawking from a distance. It was like stepping into a crime drama, except it was her life. Eventually, Detective Parks finished coordinating with his team. He turned to them, voice gentle. "We're going to take you both to a safe location, a hotel or perhaps the station for now, until we have Brandon back. We have patrols searching, and I've called in some highway patrol for that van. It's best if you come with us, in case whoever took him tries to come back here or use you as leverage." As if on cue, Rebecca's phone rang, the secure one Simon gave her. She answered it on speaker. "Simon?" Simon's voice came through taut with concern. "Becky, I just heard. Are you all right? And Kendra?" Rebecca glanced at the detective, who frowned at the unknown voice. She quickly said, "I'm at home. The police are here. Brandon's gone. They took him." "I know," Simon said. "I have contacts listening to police channels. Listen, don't trust everyone there blindly. Coleman has eyes in the force. Make sure a certain Detective Ross is not involved. He's on Coleman's payroll. Parks is good if he's there." "I'm Parks," the detective said, a bit startled to be addressed. "Who is this?" Rebecca answered. "A trusted friend who has been helping us gather evidence. He's very cautious." Simon spoke quickly. "Detective Parks, Richard Coleman has a lot of influence. You need to move fast before word gets to him that you're involved, or he'll cover his tracks. And watch out for an Officer Ross or anyone from Precinct 5. They might tip Coleman off." Parks nodded slowly, taking in the information. "Understood. We'll be careful. We're going to take Rebecca and Kendra to a safe place. Can you meet us to provide any evidence or intel?" "Yes," Simon replied. "I have copies of some of the evidence in case Rebecca needed me to act. I'll meet you at the Central Police Station in an hour." They ended the call. Parks looked at Rebecca. "That friend of yours seems well informed." "He used to work with my husband," she said simply. "And we've already had one officer in our old town sell us out to Coleman's people. So please forgive our caution." Parks raised his hands. "Understood. Right now, priority is finding Brandon. Let's get you safe, then we can strategize." "Detective," Kendra said, standing up and wiping her face, her voice rough from crying. "Please, they might hurt him to get to us. We need to find him fast. If Coleman really has him, he might try to trade." Her words were cut off by the ring of the house phone, a landline they had installed recently for security. Everyone fell silent. Rebecca went to the phone on the side table and answered on speaker, anticipating who it might be. A deep male voice came through. "Mrs. Roberts." It was not a question. The voice was modulated, perhaps through a device, but something about the tone made Kendra think of the few times she'd heard Richard Coleman speak on TV or videos. Smooth, educated, cold. Rebecca's jaw set. "Coleman." Detective Parks motioned for quiet and gestured to his partner to start a trace on the call. "You've been very troublesome, Rebecca," the voice said casually. "Moving all over, hiding, and now involving the police. That wasn't very smart." "You have my son," Rebecca said, with a tremor of barely controlled rage. "If you hurt him, you know what I want." Coleman interrupted, voice hardening. "The file. All copies, all data. Bring it to me and you'll get the boy back. Keep playing games with cops and spies, and I'll start sending pieces of him to you. We're done warning." Kendra felt sick to her stomach. She grabbed her mother's arm for support and felt her mother clutch her hand. "Where and when?" Rebecca asked, her tone steely despite the tears running down her cheeks. "I'll text you a location. Tomorrow at midnight. Come alone. If I see a hint of police or your hacker friend, your son will suffer. And Rebecca, just so we're clear, if you don't show, he dies. If you show without the file, he dies. If you or your daughter try anything funny, well, I think you get the idea. The call cut off abruptly. Kendra let out a shuddering breath. Detective Parks slammed his fist down. Damn it, he hung up too quick, couldn't get a trace in time. Rebecca squared her shoulders. It doesn't matter. He'll send the location. I'm going to do what he says. Parks looked at her like she was crazy. Ma'am, you cannot go alone into the hands of these people. They will kill all of you once they have what they want. Maybe. But I'm not losing my son, she said fiercely. I'll give him the real file if that's what it takes. Mom, no, Kendra exclaimed. If you give it up to him, he wins. Dad's death, all of this would be for nothing, and he might still kill you and Brandon. We'll have to outsmart him somehow, Rebecca replied, voice thick with emotion yet determined. She looked at Parks. Detective, we have about 24 hours. We need a plan.